Alright guys, we are starting trig. We'll be doing this for the rest of the year. I don't know how far we'll get into it, but this should be somewhat review. So take a moment and pause. Go ahead and try this warm up, and then I'll go through quickly with that with you in a few moments after you're done doing it. All right, I hope you took the time to go over this just because it's a good memory for us, both in using the Pythagorean Theorem and also putting things in simplest radical form. So if you did not remember the Pythagorean Theorem, it was basically x squared plus y squared equals, I'm just going to call it h squared. That's your hypotenuse. So I think it mainly came to a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But we really want to start thinking x, which is along my x-axis, y, which is up and down, and my hypotenuse is this way, just for future use when we apply all this to the unit circle. So if we were doing A, this is just one of my sides, that's another side. Here's my hypotenuse. I have 11 squared plus x squared. X in this case just stands for an unknown, equals 13 squared. I might zoom in on that a little bit. So we really have 121 plus x squared equals 169. And now if we subtract 121 from both sides, I get x squared equals, I think it's 48. If I'm wrong, you can yell at me from your side of the screen or tell me later. And then I just want to take the square root of both sides. And unlike times where I say I get a plus or minus, I'm only going to get a positive, because I'm looking at distance or side length. So 48 can be split into 16 times 3, so x simplifies to be 4 root 3. So that's that full one. And then if we came over to B here, this is a special right triangle showing that these two sides are equal. So you would set this up to be this, which simplifies to be that. If I divide both sides by 2, I get x squared equals 18. I square root that, I get x equals 3 root 2. All right, we have C. This time we're solving for the hypotenuse. So 7 squared plus 9 squared equals x squared. This is 49 plus 81 equals x squared. And yes, I am not very fast with my addition, so I'm employing my calculator on this. You guys can all laugh if you want. 279 equals x squared. Um, 279, what simplifies to go into that? Looks like 9 and 31. All right, and so this one, I'm going to get, if this is 9 times 31, it's going to simplify to be 3 root 31. Right, and I think 31 is a prime number, so we're done with that. All right, and then last but not least, we have 5 squared plus 10 squared equals x, oh, whoops, did that wrong, plus x squared equals 10 squared. It always equals the hypotenuse. Let me pull this over. So we're going to have 25 plus x squared equals 100. And if I subtract 25 from both sides, I'm going to get x squared equals 75. And if I square root that, 75 is 25 times 3. So x equals 5 root 3. All right. Any questions on any of these, just go ahead and send me a message. We are really focusing on special right triangles today. So here's our objective. I want you guys to put these in your notes because you might not remember the special right triangle rules. So we have two special right triangles. We have 45, 45, 90, and then we have 30, 60, 90. So go ahead and pause the video and make sure you get these in your notes. All right, so we're going to use those rules to solve these triangles. So these are all 45, 45, 90, meaning that my two sides of my triangle are equal. So we know right here that this is 9. So we know that missing side. We want to find h. And so you could use the Pythagorean theorem in this case, but we know that h is s root 2 from the rules for special right triangles. So since these are both s as our sides of our triangle, we can say that h is a side times root 2. So we know that that extra side is 9 root 2. All right. Again, we're asking for the hypotenuse in this situation. We know both of our sides here are equal, and we know that x is equal s times root 2. Well, our side is 2 root 2, so we're going to have 2 root 2 times root 2. What happens when you multiply root 2 times root 2? Well, you should get just 2. So this ends up being 2 times 2, or we know in this case that x equals 4. And then we got one last one, but this time they're giving us the hypotenuse. And we still know that the hypotenuse equals s root 2. Even though they're calling this side x, it's really one of our sides. So it's s in this situation. So I'm just going to solve for the s. So we know the x here is s and s. I'm going to divide both sides by root 2. We're going to do one of your favorite things, which is rationalize. So 6 over root 2. To rationalize that, I'm going to multiply root 2 over root 2. So I get 6 root 2 over 2, which simplifies to be 3 root 2. So we know that x equals 3 root 2. All right, that's 45, 45, 90. Now we have one more triangle that we want to focus on and do a couple of examples. It's the 30, 60, 90 triangle. And so it's helpful if you have the rules right here, and we want to talk a little bit about the 30, 60, 90 because its sides aren't equal. And so if you recall from geometry, the short side is across from the smaller angle. So this S here, that's the short side. The longer side is across from the bigger angle, the 60 degrees. So down here, this is our long side, and this is still our hypotenuse. So depending on what you're solving for, you got to make sure that you're looking at short side versus long side. So in A, they've given us the hypotenuse. I know that the hypotenuse is equal to 2s. And s in this case is my short side. See, we have that on our rules for special right triangles. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I have s equals 20, or I know that's what my x equals. That's my small side. And then once I have s, then I can find my longer side, which is just this. The rule here is s root 3. So my y is going to be 20 root 3. I'm just going to plug in my short side and multiply it by root 3. All right. So again, if you want to pause this and see if you can try the next two on your own, and then come back and see me work through them, that's probably a good idea to do, just because it will give you some more practice. But we're going to do the same sort of thing where we've been given the hypotenuse again. Notice the hypotenuse is always across from the 90-degree angle. So this is across. And I know that 2 root 3 equals 2s. So I'm going to solve for the short side first again. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And so I get that s equals just root 3. My short side is across from the 30-degree angle. So this side is root 3. I know that this side is going to be my short side times root 3. So up here I'm going to get root 3 times root 3, which is just 3. So my long side is 3. All right. Now C's a little bit trickier, as they gave us the long side. So notice the long side, it's across from that 60-degree angle. And I know that the long side on a 30, 60, 90 is equal to s root 3. So I'm going to solve for the short side. So divide both sides by root 3. So I get s equals 5 over root 3, and then we need to rationalize. So multiply top and bottom by root 3. And I get 5 root 3 all over 3. That cannot be simplified. And that is our side over here. And now if we go back and look at our rules, our hypotenuse, or the side across from 90, is equal to 2 times that short side. So for f, I'm going to have 2 times 5 root 3 over 3. And so f is going to equal 10 root 3 all over 3. All right, so here's the whole slide together if you need to finish taking notes. Go ahead, this is the ending slide for this small task here. There will be a second video using these same concepts for task number 2 this week.